Hello everyone, today we'll talk about the problem find all groups of farmland. We're given a binary matrix, so a two-dimensional array consisting of zeros and ones. Zeros represent forest and ones represent farmland. We're also told that farmland was cut out of the forest as rectangles and that those rectangles are not four-directionally connected, so going up, down, left, right, they're not connected with each other. So essentially in this whole matrix we have some rectangles of ones that are not connected to each other. Knowing that, it's possible to separate all those rectangles of farmland into maximal not connected rectangles, and for each one we can define it by the row and column where it starts, so the row and column of its upper left tile, and the same for its bottom right tile. So for this rectangle of farmland, it starts and ends at 0, 0, and this one starts and ends at 1, 1 and ends at 2, 2. And this is exactly what we're being asked to give in this problem. We're given the description of this whole land, where 1 is farmlands, and we have to, for every group, give the row and column for its upper left and bottom right tile. Okay, so since this is a grid problem, we would like to think about it as a graph and traverse this graph with, let's say, a DFS, because that's the simplest thing to write, because it's just recursive. And in that way we'll calculate something for every group. And we now have to make sure that what we calculate is the answer to our question. And it turns out to be quite simple, since what those numbers are, since we're being told that all those groups are already rectangles, is that this number is the smallest row that we visit when visiting the group. And this is the smallest column, right? Because this is the upper left corner, right? Upper left corner. So upper left corner is as up and as to the left as possible. And same thing here. This is the maximal row, this is the maximal column. So the maximal row is here, we cannot go down, and of course we cannot go to the right. And calculating that, we can essentially, whenever we visit one of those tiles in our group, we can just calculate the those minima and maxima correspondingly. And then finally, when we visit all the tiles, the global minimum, maximum at those positions are exactly the answer, and we can add it to our result. Do that for every group. So essentially, if we still have unvisited land tiles, then we can run the DFS from those land tiles again, and that's a new group, and that will create our final answer. Let's see this as code. We start with standard boilerplate, height, width, 4 directions, up, down, left, right. And we're going to go through all the rows and columns, and if we still haven't visited this land tile, since what we're going to do is whenever we visit a land tile, we'll turn it into a forest, right? If we don't want to destroy input, we can have another two-dimensional array that will just tell us if we've visited or not visited this position, but in this case I will turn it into 0, so essentially if it's still not visited, that's a new group, so we mark it as visited, and we add this intermediary result to the answer. So this will start with just the rows and columns of this single tile, but whenever we recurse up, down, left, right, we update it as minima and maxima. And we do it like so. We start with row, column, so this is the current tile that we're in. We try to go up, down, left, right, and if it's possible, we go there. We get another result, so another row and column number. That is the minimum, maximum, so of the upper left and lower right coordinates. And we just have to combine them, and the way we combine them is that for the first two, we take the minimum, otherwise we take the maximum of both of those results. And that is what we finally return for every group. We add it to our answer, and that is what we return. So, in other words, every tile that we visit within a group will try to update its coordinates, its row and column number, as the minimum we've seen and the maximum we've seen. And if we do that for every tile in a group, then we'll have the group minimum and group maximum when it's necessary. One simplification is that if we do it in this order, so we go rows and columns from in increasing order, then we only have to find those two last numbers, so only the maxima and not the minima. However, it's not important when it comes to complexity, when it comes to time complexity, and that may be simpler because in this case we can also do it in a different order. But if we do it in this order, then we always start from the upper left vertex.